Well, the truth is that I always try to compete at the highest level and give my best. In the precision race, we were very few drivers, and I could not draw too many conclusions beyond that Risto was very fast, and that also being the creator of the mod had the advantage of knowing the cars to perfection. Also, the participation of Sander Karas in the championship also made me see very few options to fight for the title, to be honest. Well, the first race at Kialami was very thought. The fact that Callas left all of us was quite depressing, and yeah, also I was not being able to win the second place from Risto Corpi, so I had to take the third. Then Jacarepaguá was quite different. The second race, this time with NA, I felt much more comfortable and proved that was the pole position I secured. I think I was like 1.5 seconds faster than the second place. But in the race, everything was different. I was overtaken by the newcomer at that time, Alejandro, later by Anichi, and yeah, they were in another world. In fact, when they passed me so fast, in spite of the difference I had made in qualifying, I thought they had made a mistake with the fuel and that we are not going to be able to finish the race. Fortunately, a mistake by Anichi allowed me to take the second, but yeah, finally when the race, when we finished the race, I thought that yeah, the difference was definitely the engine. I took the V12 and they took the V8, so that was the difference in the first part of the race. They were so fast because of the fuel, but yeah, I couldn't recover everything I lost at the beginning. Then in the end, so yeah, I this made me change my mind, and I decided to go to take the V8 for the next races. For example, in the next race in Long Beach, and yeah, that race, the absence of Alejandro and the fact that Risto Corpi once again took the turbo certainly helped me to win. To be honest, it was an easy victory. I don't want to say easy because yeah, it was a very hard race in a street circuit where any mistake was costly. So yeah, it was a good win. Without a doubt, we didn't have enough pace in Imola or Solder. In Imola, the rain made the car harder to handle. It was a new car for me, and I didn't want to take too many risks. And yeah, after starting in P4, finishing the race in second place was a great achievement. Then in Solder, we were left with a bittersweet feeling. After spending almost the entire race in second place, Risto Corpi overtook us with just 4 laps to go. And yeah, that's when I realized this guy is really fast with the turbo. And yeah, the car was very unstable. And tire wear only made it worse. It was really hard to be safe in the last laps. Yeah, this took away a lot of my confidence in the final part, and in the end, we paid the price. Not really, mainly because of the rule that only the best 11 result counted. This heavily rewarded winning races, and I still had only one victory. So yeah, it was tough because we had been close to winning on some races, but something always happened. The first time it was in the next race in Monaco. I mean, if you think tell me one track where you can make a bad start. You say Monaco, and yeah, I failed. I failed. I did probably the worst start of my life. I had a dreadful start, lost 2 positions, and dropped to fourth. We managed to overtake Cabeza Speed, and later the leader, Stargath, I think he had an accident with a back marker, and I took the second position. But yeah, Risto was in first. Risto was with turbo, and yeah, it was absolutely impossible to overtake him. We had a lot of more pace. I was using NA, so yeah, it was obviously, but yeah, I didn't have the chance to try to overtake him. So yeah, I had to take the P2. Then we moved to Detroit. Qualifying was really good. I missed out on Callas pole by just 10 or 12 thousandths, but I was ahead of Risto and Alejandro, so I was happy. Um, then the start was controversial. We will see. We had an accident with Risto in the first braking point. He dived in from very far back. I wasn't expecting it, so we touched, and yeah, he came off much worse than me. I mean, I took the second place. I think he took the last, or I mean, he went to the back of the grid. So yeah, um, I was thinking of this accident in the middle of the race. I was thinking it was Risto's fault. Then when I see the replay, I had more doubts, to be honest. I don't know if it was my fault, maybe. Not sure, to be honest, because yeah, he went from very, very far back. So yeah, I don't know. Well, I was pleasantly surprised during the race to see that I had more pace than Sander. It seems like I mean, I was really close to him, but it was impossible to try and overtake in Detroit. But yeah, after a few laps, everything changed once again. One of the back markers, I think it was Carles Strohal. He spinned just in front of us. We couldn't avoid the accident. I tried everything to avoid the accident, but yeah, I was unlucky at that moment. We crashed with him. Oka took the first place, and yeah, our cars were damaged. Sander, Carlos, and me. But I think my car was better than the car of Sander. Um, and yeah, thanks to that, I was finally able to overtake Callas in what I believe it was one of my best moves of the season. It was a really, really nice move because despite he has damage on the car, me too. So yeah, and later, well, the damage to my car prevented me from catching Oka's Renault, which ended up winning. With Risto finishing fifth and Alejandro sixth, I had to settle for second place, even though I knew a victory had been possible here in Detroit. But yeah, it wasn't a bad result. In Canada, as you mentioned, also Risto and Alejandro struggled again. Alejandro, I think he made a really bad start. He lost many positions, and yeah, he caught up in various battles during the whole race, and yeah, then Risto Corpi had a big accident with Callas that left his car badly damaged, and I think Callas was out of the race. So yeah, and a part of all of this, interestingly, those of us running the turbo had fuel issues. I realized before the race about it, and yeah, I decided to save fuel in the opening laps, which made me lose position with some of NA cars like Cabeza Speed. And yeah, I was the first part of the race I was defending from Adam Samsur and Gutisny. However, as the race went on, I started making up ground. Proof of that being that I eventually caught up Risto after a grid battle. I knew that Risto was going to defend like a monster after the accident we had in the last race. So it was a really nice move, I think. And well, the incredible part of the race came at the end when I managed to close. I think it was like a 10-second gap with Cabeza in less than 4 laps or 5 laps. That it gave me the second place in the last corner after a really nice move. I didn't think in any moment that I was going to be able to catch Cabeza. So yeah, I was really exhausted at the end of the race, and yeah, I never imagined I could do it, but it was completely unleashed. Despite running the turbo, I lost all the fear I had in previous races, and I did the unthinkable even for myself. Yes, everything we had gained before was lost in the next two races. First in Sandboard was undoubtedly the track where I struggled the most all season. I never found the pace at any point, and yeah, finishing fourth was the best I could hope after qualifying in fifth. The only good thing, if you can call it that, was that Risto won the race and not Alejandro, who already had 3 victories. However, Alejandro won the next race in Brand Hatch with Risto Corp in second place. So yeah, it was a disaster for me. I had no pace at all during the whole week. And to make matter worse, my engine blew up on the penultimate corner when I was running in third place. And well, it was in the finish line, the straight line. So since I was running third and had lapped up to P5, I only lost the third position in that race. I finished in P4, but yeah, I thought at least I'm scoring points, but I expected this result to be one of my 5 worst, and therefore not counted for the driver championship. Yeah, exactly. I knew I had to win races. Consistency wasn't that important in this championship, and I had to give everything to try and win races. France was a turning point for me. I think I started to realize that I had to win races, as I said, and I began preparing more for the races. But once again, a race that was practically won slipped away from me. I kept Risto in check the whole race, which, considering we were running the turbo, was already quite an achievement for me. We had like 5 seconds gap between us during the whole race, and it started to swing when I encountered several backmarkers, and nervous got the worst of me. I had to start taking risks because I could see Risto closing in, and I already had the precedent of Solder. So in the end, I spun on the break-in. It was one of those mistakes I had so many times in practice, and I still couldn't figure out how to avoid it, to be honest. It was painful to watch yet another hard-earned victory slip through my fingers. It was really painful for me. Well, at this point, I have to admit I was pretty crushed and had almost lost hope of fighting for the title. At least Alejandro finished in 4th place, but yeah, Risto was already up to 3 victories. Alejandro had 4 victories, and I still had just 1. So yeah, I was leading the driver championship, but yeah, I knew it was going to be really, really difficult. Well, I think before talking about the race, we have to talk about the qualifying. It's hard to imagine that after hours and hours spent of practice, I couldn't even complete a single lap in 20 minutes. But yeah, that's exactly what happened. Several laps were ruined by my own mistakes. Some had to be aborted due to slower drivers in my way, and other because I found cars stopped in the middle of the track. So yeah, in the end, I had to start from the very back. About the strategy, I already planned to start on qualifying tires regardless of my grid position. Based on my tests, it was the fastest strategy, making a pit stop in the middle of the race to put on fresh qualifying tires. So I stuck with it. Having qualifying tires helped me a lot at the start. I managed to gain like 14 positions in less than 2 laps. I never thought I would get up to 2nd place that quickly, but yeah, I knew I had the pace for it. I was fast in practice, and yeah, despite the win was out of reach, Risto made a mistake in the first lap, so yeah, it motivated me this to push my hardest and fight for the podium at least. And in the end, after my pit stop, I went out in 6th place, if I'm not wrong. I had to overtake first of all to Arthur Dickman. We have a small accident in turn 1. I was lucky, to be honest, because yeah, Arthur Dickman spinned around, and yeah, I took the 5th place. Then I went to my teammate Lens. He fight with me. I didn't expect it, to be honest, but yeah, finally I could take the 4th place, and finally the 3rd after overtaking Adam Samsul. Yeah, I was fast. I was faster than Risto, obviously because of the tires, but yeah, it wasn't enough for me to catch him. But yeah, fortunately for me, the stewards gave him a 10 seconds penalty, I mean to Risto Corpi, for a race incident with Thiller. And thanks to this, I was able to finish in second place. It was totally unthinkable for me after starting for P16. So yeah, it was another race that I could have at least fight for the victory, but I couldn't because of my poor qualifying. So yeah, I mean finishing second after starting in the last place was incredible. With immense joy, I felt a huge weight lift off my shoulders. I had 4 fastest laps, 10 podiums, but only 1 victory. But finally, the reward for all the effort and dedication arrived. Austria was a race where I wasn't sure at all whether to use turbo or NA. Resistance with turbo felt much more difficult and unpredictable, so I decided to go with the V12 for the first time since Jacarepaguá. Because yeah, on NA tracks I was using V8 after what happened there in Brazil. Since a large part of the circuit was flat out, I leaned towards betting on that extra top speed and sacrifice maybe a little bit of race pace. This helped me to secure pole position and later in the race to keep Alejandro at bay. He was running with V8, so he couldn't get close enough on the straights. And yeah, a part of this, we were faster than Risto, who opted with the turbo this time. Yeah, in fact, Alejandro and I were among just a few who chose to run the NA, and in Austria, I think we were just 4 drivers. So it was risky, but worth it. And in the end, I did it. I managed to hold on Alejandro, who was glued to my rear wing the entire race. It was an incredible feeling for me because it was probably the hardest race of my life. Thought test of patience of keeping a cool head to avoid mistakes that I had made in previous races. Definitely, it was a short but really challenging circuit. The forecast was rain and it was actually raining during the practice, but then we switched to qualifying and the track was surprisingly dry. Well, this caught us all aboard as we went out with qualifying tires, knowing that everything will come down to just 1 lap, and that's exactly how it turned out. The rain arrived just a few minutes later, and unfortunately my lap was quite bad, but at least just enough to start from 4th, just behind Calas, Alejandro and Risto Corpi. Then we moved to the race and the same thing happened again. The track was dry, but yeah, the forecast still called for rain, so I opted for the wet tires as I thought, well, it's going to happen the same than in qualifying, so let's put the wets on. However, Alejandro decided to use the softs. He was one of the few drivers who did it, and it was the smart decision because we didn't have rain in the whole race. However, my hopes for the rain keep me out there with the wets, same as Risto, same as Calles. But when Risto pit in lap 9, I decided to reconsider my strategy and thought about pitting as well. Since we were losing like 3 seconds per lap to Alejandro and some other drivers like Adam Gucisny, who started with soft, was running faster than me and then Risto. So yeah, it was a disaster for all of the drivers that start with wet tires. But yeah, so I decided to stop one lap later than Risto to put soft tires, and yeah, I pushed to the max to try to get some point at least for the team, because yeah, I thought it was going to be impossible to stay at least in 4th place. So yeah, I knew that this race wasn't going to help me in the driver championship. So to be honest, I just thought in the team. And little by little, I started making my way up from 10th place, always saying Risto just ahead, but struggling to close the gap. It was like a 5-second gap between us during practically the first 20 laps. Yeah, Adam Samsul, who was running in 2nd place, made a mistake at the middle of the race. He had to retire. In that moment, I think it was Guccisny in second place, Risto moved up to third, and I was in fourth. But yeah, Risto and me were like 4 seconds faster than Adam, or three. I don't know. It was a really different between us. So it wasn't difficult to overtake him finally. I think around 10 laps to go was the moment when Risto took the second place, and I took the third. But yeah, the third place wasn't enough for me at that point. Unlike other races, I had absolutely nothing to lose here, so I tried to force a mistake, and in the end, I managed to do it in the most epic way possible. Yeah, in the last corner of the final lap, yeah, what can I say? It was absolutely spectacular the way we both entered in the last corner. My car slid excessively due to the dirty air of the car of Risto, and he also slightly lost control of his car. So yeah, I got out of the last corner with more acceleration than him, and yeah, overtake him in the last meters of the track. Without a doubt, it was one of the best moments of the season, both because of what it meant to finish ahead of Risto and the way I did it. Yeah, after the start of the race, it was unthinkable to finish in the second place. Well, he thinks it's my fault, but to be honest, I doubt that. We were side by side when he didn't give me space and I had to go onto the gravel. We had a slight contact, but it didn't have major consequences for either of us. I believe he could have given me more space. I know it was a risky move on my part. I gave it my all. I knew that if I had any chance, I had to give 110%. Monza was a turbo circuit, so I knew Risto would be very hard to beat. I was close to him in qualifying, in fact, I managed to overtake him at the start, but I couldn't hold on until the first position for more than the first 2 laps. So yeah, I couldn't find the pace I had shown in practice sessions during the race, sadly, but yeah, I didn't feel comfortable with the car, and the fear of making a mistake prevented me from starting the full pace I had. But yeah, however, after the race, I saw that the steward had given a 10 seconds penalty for Risto Corpi, some incident in qualifying, I believe. Yeah, and that gave me the first position. So honestly, I couldn't quite believe it. It was something that I didn't expect. So yeah, I was quite happy because everything changed on the World Championship at this point for me. Well, I can understand the frustration in the end. His victory placed all of us tied in points for the last race. But yeah, with a huge advantage for him and especially for Alejandro because of the rule of about the 11 best results. The only way for me to win the title was to win the last race and just wait that Alejandro finished fourth or worse in the last race. So yeah, it was something impossible in my point of view. So with the penalty, he was out of the title fight, leaving Alejandro and me with similar changes to claim the championship. But yeah, the truth is, it was a dirty and unjustified move by him. But yeah, I see too many consequences for such a minor action because yeah, it was just in qualifying. But yeah, it's a real shame for him, but good for me. Honestly, after knowing that Callas was going to participate into the last race, I thought it would be really difficult. It's true that I remember the Detroit race where I had more race pace than Callas, but yeah, if by any chance I managed to go faster, I also had Alejandro to deal with, who is really fast in NA circuits like Sessions Palace. Also, Risto Colpi decided not to show up, which practically handed the point to Alejandro. So I had no choice but to win or hope for a miracle or an error from Alejandro. I had many doubts about which engine to choose here because the V8 was a bit faster in the race, but you lost out in quality and most importantly in top speed, something that helped me a lot in Austria to defend from Alejandro. So that's what made me eventually go for the V12. It was a Grand Prix with many key moments. The first one obviously was getting the pole position. It gave me a lot of confidence and belief that I could do it. The second moment was the start. I had a pretty bad start, losing the position to Callas in the first meters, but I recovered and managed to take it back before the second corner. This gave me the opportunity to pull a few meters of distance and take advantage of the fight Callas had with Alejandro in the first laps. Also, I want to say that to avoid being influenced during the race, I decided to hide everything about the data. I mean, I didn't know during the whole race who was running in second place, gap with him, anything. I just wanted to be focused on my pace and push because I knew that it was going to be a really difficult race. And yeah, later I have probably the third key moment of the race. That was when I found with 4 lapped cars. They were also fighting for the points. So it was a really difficult moment of the race, and that was the moment also when the gap with the second place went to 0. Alejandro, I saw in my mirrors that it was Alejandro in P2, and he was just like in Austria, just behind me. So I had to stay calm and wait for the things to happen as they did in Austria. That was my only chance. The third sector of the circuit helped me to stay calm because there was the part of the track where I was pulling away from him, but just two corners later, he was right back on my tail. So just without enough speed to attempt an overtake, but always really close. A few laps later, not too much. That was the fourth key moment of the race. It was when Alejandro got ahead of me by just a few meters in the exit of the second corner. I braked too late. Alejandro take the first place, and yeah, honestly, I thought it's all. I lost it. But yeah, I don't know how, but the power of my engine did its job, and it was able to recover the position before the next corner. I believe that if Alejandro had passed me there, I wouldn't have had the pace to overtake him again. So yeah, I think it was undoubtedly the most important moment of the race, because yeah, from there I managed to keep him at bay and cross the finish line in first. I honestly couldn't believe it. Just when I overtook Risto in the last corner in Dijon, I screamed with a joy. But here I could only breathe deeply and try to believe and process what I had achieved in that moment. Also, the last lap was really difficult. Alejandro was less than half of a second, so yeah, it was many nerves on me, but yeah, I did it. Well, it would be a nice challenge. It was right in the 2016 IndyCar Championship where my performance decline began in Liga Virtual F1. After coming off 8 consecutive world titles, my streak ended there, and I wanted to accumulate another 8 seasons without winning anymore. So I hope it won't happen again. I hope to maintain a level similar to this year. I know it's a very optimistic goal on my part, but yeah, above all, I hope we can have many people on track and enjoy some great battles like we had this year. Thank you, it's been a pleasure, and see you next championship.